The next step in our project is to find reference material. And as I mentioned, I'm going to make my luggage into ladybugs. Mother ladybug and a baby ladybug. Two little ladybugs. Before we get there, going to do some thumbnails, but eventually we're going to put a piece of tracing paper the size of our 11 by 14 marker paper, and I've even got a border drawn on it so that I can figure out how I'm going to compose it on my page, as well as how I'm going to turn these things into what I want them to be. But before we have that happen, we've got to start working on our thumbnails. You can either take a quarter sheet of your cartridge paper or some printer paper, something that's maybe 8.5, 11. Keep all these things in mind. Keep your reference handy. Keep your shapes, your templates handy, because these were our templates, and try to figure out how you're going to get this to happen. So first you could take maybe the smallest piece. You could cover up the larger one and have that on view. So you need it on view, and I've got my tracing paper there, and start to figure out what's going to happen here. We want to do this very small, so don't trace over top, because that takes too much time. Just give yourself, I think I want this. Now remember, it has a carapace. This case is plastic. It's a big thick plastic, so I know I want to have the body like that, and maybe that will encompass this part. I don't know what that is, the thorax or something, I'm not sure. And then put the head at the top. Maybe that's going to work out easily enough. And then I can't have these cutouts, so I'll just have to figure out a color to put there in between the pieces, all the little segments of my ladybug. And this is the center, so I want to figure out now. There's one big spot here, one big spot, and then there's two. This one has a symmetrical plan. Maybe they all do, I don't know. And that will be like that. And I want to make it rounder. I think I can. So I can adjust my shape a little bit. And I've got these feelers, these little antennae coming out of there. So the only flaw in the ointment, so to speak, fly in the ointment, is those indents. But I'm going to just put a color in there, I think. And then, of course, the backpack is soft material, the part that goes against the back. Oh, this could be the handles. The antennae could be the handles. That could be fun. So they could crawl along the top and then be up at the top. Okay, that'll work. So I think I might have something there. Now, the little legs, I suppose they could be cloth, that this just kind of dingle-dangles. If it wasn't, but they could get caught on something. So maybe they should be like little handles on the side, maybe? Maybe there are little pockets, there are little handles on the side. That could work. So I might have to do an expanded view to show that down the side of the pocket, there's a little handle that is also the leg, one of their legs. So that's kind of important to do. Or maybe it's the way you unzip the side, if the side comes open. Okay, maybe we'll put a little dot there too to keep our idea going. So that's going to be okay, I think. Now, how about the mother bug? The mother bug is big, and it's got that big handle there. That maybe could be her antenna. I don't know. It's kind of a big stretchy antenna. There's also this split, which is kind of intriguing, for her wings. I don't know if that could be something down the center here. That could be something. So we'll start on that now. I've got my reference pictures are right there, and they're very helpful. You can't work without reference, so make sure you find something. So I'm going to work with the same general shape, the kind of a teardrop shape, I think. That seems to be working. And then that's the center. And I've got the, I think I'll do the same. Have that, I'm not sure whether it's a thorax, but I'm going to have that part there. and then have the little head, and then I'll have blank space here, but that's okay. And then I'll have the antennae creep across the top, maybe, and use that for the handle. And these legs on this one, I think they can actually wrap around. That's another alternative. I could have them wrapping around the side here. That could be fun. And just maybe a little bit dingly-dangly so that it's not unsafe. They can get caught on things, and then the child could get pulled under something. It could be very bad. So you don't want to. Now these, I have to think about them in perspective. They won't be complete circles that you would make on a template. They're ellipses, so they've got to be a little flattened. That's got to be like that. I could even maybe have a zip down the front here. So show a zip so they can pull things out easily. Then I've got some more of these dots here. And then we've got a zip for sure here that will help that come out. And I've got my handles, which will maybe just be handles. I won't try to do anything too fancy with them. With that. Okay, so now I've got an idea of where I want to go with this, and I can start to make this work. Got to turn this box now into that teardrop shape and do it symmetrically. And I'm working on my tracing paper over top. Make sure your pencil crayons are sharp. I'll make this a little darker so that you can see what I'm doing here. So I'm working on the front here. And I'll make an X. I know that I want to make it a little bit egg-shaped, so this is the center. I want to make a bit of an arc here. I have to decide now where to start my inclination toward an arc. One of the things I can do is realize how far I want this to go over. So I'm going to do this, and then if I use my vanishing point, I'll be able to bring that over to the other side, over to here, and I'll have the same measure on either side. Even though they won't look that way, it will be. Okay, so that's going to give me the 2 points where I'm going to round this up. And now I just have to select where I want the curve to start. So I think I'll start it here and see what that looks like. What does that give me? Oh, see, now I can do this. Make sure that they're crossing at the same point on either side. Do the same thing at the bottom. And this is going to cross here. This will go up to cross here. And this is the apex for that. So now I've got a reasonable symmetry that I can keep going with. Now the likelihood is that this would angle in somewhat too, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. So I now have to go to the back of the box. This is the back of the box. And keep using your vanishing point. And I have to do that same egg shape at the back. So always the first step is to make an X from corner to corner. And that X helped so much, I was able to fashion everything against it. The first part was figuring out where the arc is going to go. So if I bring that back using my vanishing point, this is the part where you have to just maybe clear the deck and make sure you've got room to do all of this. So I'm going to do that. That's there. Sometimes too, if you don't have to draw a complete line and you just draw where the part you're going to need, that helps too. So instead of drawing that whole line, I'll just put a notch here. And now I use the vanishing point. I don't really need to use that because I know they line up. They lined up at the front, they'll line up at the back. And this is our center. Make sure I got my center. At the back, I'm looking at the center, got to keep it straight. There. So now I'm joining this to this. And I'm also keeping an eye on the front. See how I flattened that a bit there? I'm going to flatten this a bit too. I could also bring a dot over for that, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to eyeball that. And here it is over on the other side. There's the center. We had this one, remember? So we got to bring this back. And I bring this back using my vanishing point, bring this across to the other side. There's my middle. The same shape, just smaller back here. Then there's going to be a curve down the center. I can eyeball that. Anytime you do this, you come up from the bottom and you wait until you see where they both line up. Then you draw your line across. Now remember, we had our handle in the middle. So it's to stay in the middle. And it's going to be my antennas. So I want to just put that in now and lengthen it. Now I haven't done the top of this. I've got to do the top of this. So I'll do it in a red so you can see it. You may have a completely different idea for how you want to shape it. And this is just meant to give you an idea of a way to do that and maintain symmetry. So you may have a completely different shape. Now this would go round. This might have to go. Now that was suspended. I couldn't leave it just suspended in space like that. So this would probably come down more now. It would have to come down a little more. So this shape is going to serve me, but it may not serve you. But it is an idea of how to achieve symmetry. You keep that X is the best way to do it. I'm using now a thicker marker. Now I can't get my head close enough or myself close enough to this to do this properly without getting my big fat head in the way. So hope you'll forgive me. I'll do my best, but it's not going to look great. But hopefully it will be maintain symmetry if nothing else. So now I'm doing it this dark because I'm going to put a piece of marker paper over top and work out the rest. This is the center here. See, so that strap isn't in the center. I'm going to move that over. Sometimes you just have to eyeball things. If they don't make sense or look right, you've got to eyeball it and fix it up. This one I'm not sure whether I want to make the split the carapace and put something, a pocket in the front. I'm not sure. This one you could put fabric for part of it and it might be safe enough. So now I've got a shape. I've shaped it. Now let's shape this one. Also, when you're going along, it's a good idea to think about your display case. We could leave it for the overlay, but we might make mistakes in perspective if we copy it through 2 layers rather than 1 layer. I can heavy some of this up now so that I can see what I'm doing. And I'll put that other line down a little bit further. Okay, so now we have our display. The next part is to correct this shape. And again, I'm doing that same idea of making it almost a teardrop shape, or a little bit of an egg shape. So I'm going to, first of all, darken that front box so everybody can see. You may want to do this too so you can keep track of where you are. It's going to be a little more challenging because we can't see as much of the top. Okay, so now we're going to get our all-important X in here. And start now again the same way we did with that other little one. So I haven't gone anywhere toward my ladybug other than just trying to find a shape for it. Now they're perfectly round, but that's not practical for a suitcase. So I think this is better. I think it would be they wouldn't be enough room to pack everything. So this is a better shape, I think. So here we go. We've got that. Now okay, so we know where all the center parts are. So the first thing we did over there was figure out where the arc is going to start. So I'm going to look at my references now, and I'm going to start my arc. This one, there's more possibility for this one to be a fuller figured ladybug, I think, as it's wider. So let's bring this over. And I'm just guessing at these things. I don't know. Let's see, I want this to be, what kind of arc would that give me? Oh yeah, remember I've got to make part of this flat. Part of it looks a little flat. So there's a point, and I bring it over with my vanishing point. Oh, it's the same point. Not quite, a little bit over. Okay. Here we go. So I was using this line. So now there's the point where it crosses my X, and here's the point where it crosses my X on this side. So it's actually lined up with the back of the box, one of the corners of the back of the box. By accident, it wasn't planned that way. So this I know I'm going to keep that like that. This I know I'm going to round it like this. Now this is a longer reach, you see, because of the perspective, our viewpoint. So I'll bring that over. And then I can check it by bringing this part. With my vanishing point, I'm bringing it over here. So now I can check to make sure they cross at the same point. Okay, then now I have to figure out how I'm going to round it out on the bottom. And once I figured that out, I've got this mark that I need to bring over this way. Now leave all of these marks on yours as well, so that when we look at your drawing together, we'll be able to see what happened where. Now this doesn't make a very pretty curve here. That makes rather a stunted curve, but that's what it would be because we checked with our, and that's why our little foot was distorted too, because we're in an area of distortion. We're looking straight down on it. Okay, so that's the front part. We've got to isolate the back part. We are missing a line back here. I'm missing from this corner back to the corner of the box. So I have to put that in. Okay, now we go in to make our X. And this is lining up with something at the front. That's okay. We just ignore it. Okay, now I can start bringing some of these marks back to this X. Now my legs are going to be nowhere near where they need to be. Obviously, I hadn't planned on that, but we'll have to draw them together when we work on our paper over top. We'll pull them in. I will, anyway. However, yours is working out. I'm not sure how yours will work out. Now I can bring this back. That's that mark. And this mark. And bring the top back maybe too. Now, as I mentioned, the top is going to be a little bit tricky because there isn't much of it. So, but I've got enough now. I can start to, this is the center back here. Yep, that's the center. I have to bring that up. So I'm going to go by this center. I'm a little off somewhere, so and this can't look flat, so I've got to round it out some more. Wow, this looks almost round. So, but the ladybug is almost round. So be prepared that you're going to have to bring your legs back on here. No matter what you do, you probably will need to. So not to worry, we'll do that on the next stage. Now, I have to bring back this top part here at the widest part. I bring that back. And the strap for this is really going to be out of place. So I'll just have to figure out where the center is and where the center is over here, and draw a new strap. And I think it's going to be a antennae, so that's going to work out just fine. And this will be the center here. Okay, this will split. And I also thought I wanted to have a split here, so it's round, so I'm going to make a round shape for that. I'm also going to keep these as well. They're in the right place. They go at the back, so Just extend them longer if you need to. You might need to. Now see, inside on that side and outside on this side. Don't forget, use your vanishing point wherever you need to, because it will be obvious if everything else has been drawn that way and you have one or two things that aren't. They'll look out of place. Make sure you've got everything in the right place and all traced over, so that now when you go in and you have to move those legs in, this is going to be glass, so we want to put double lines. The back portion isn't going to be glass. It's going to be, you're going to put a design down there. In terms of my shadow, I have a completely different shape now. I can take an idea from this and work it out. So I know my shadow is going to go this way, and I know it's going to be round. I have to round it out. The best way to do it would be to go back to my light, go through the middle. So this is the middle right here, you remember? That's the middle. Bring the middle back. And balance the circle on either side. So that's the center, but I have to bring that far part over from, let's see now. Yeah, I've got to bring it over from that far. I think I'll make it like that, just an oval, because that's exactly what it is, just an oval. And then when I get the legs in the right place, that will work. And then this, I can bring this down to here again, all the way down to the bottom, and all the way down to the bottom, bring it across, and they're going to stick out there. I think that I'm going to leave the same, because I kind of like the way that worked. But we've moved our wall. That's okay. Just when you trace it over, bring it closer. Where it hits the wall, bring it over. Because that was kind of a fun, I think that was kind of fun to have that there. Now nobody's going to question this shadow, I promise you, because as long as it's going in the right direction, and that is the middle between here and here, so that we know we're okay. And I'm only going to see this much of it. And this shadow, it's going to stay the same. Except at the top, it's now round at the top. Well, I think it stays the same. We'll keep it the same. It'll go a little bit around here though. We can just draw it in roughly for now. And this one we'll just leave it the same, because it is flat on the top. And all we're seeing is top, really, and a little bit of the back. We could round it out a little bit, maybe. Okay, so make sure you've got all that in. So we lost all of that, but that's okay, not to worry. Before you take your tracing paper off, and then we'll take it off and put our legs on. Now, the perspective is maybe going to be a little off. We'll see if it's obvious. If it's obvious, we'll have to go through the legs all over again. But if it isn't, we can use them. Template served us well. We got everything we needed from that. Oh, I already put legs on. Too bad. So, line up your box again. See where the legs would go and draw them on. I'm going to cover these up because they're going to be in my way. So, it's a good idea always to carry some whiteout with you to class for this very reason, or for other reasons too. You never know, you might need a highlight. They do attach at the front, so line up your front line. I can sort of see. Now it's a little bit difficult to draw a black line over pencil crayon, so you'll have to have a powerful marker. And remember, I'm doing a circle in perspective, so I'm keeping that in mind. It's always important when you're drawing in perspective to have in mind what it is you're after. If you can picture it ahead of time, that always helps. So I'm trying to get this right back where it should be. So what did I do with this one? With this one, I moved in a little bit. So I'm just going to move in a little bit with this one. That'll help. And then over here, I've got to move in quite a lot. And I probably wouldn't see quite as much of the little gizmo that attaches it to the... Yeah, because it would be covered up. Okay, now it's always good to put it on a white piece of paper and check out and see where you are, what's happening. So now, this is one fat ladybug. And it's very, very thick. Probably. It is getting a little cuter though. Okay, so I've got my shapes. It's unfortunate those two things lined up, so I'm going to make this a little longer. The back of the cabinet and the handle. If you can avoid, those are called tangents, and they call their eye to them. They draw a lot of attention, so you try to avoid them. Put it somewhere else. Now we get to use our references in the next part.